It has been a long time since Ridley Scott, the famous British director, and American actor Joaquin Phoenix teamed up. And by a long time, I mean 2000. Gladiator came out. It won a bunch of Oscars. It won Best Picture. Russell Crowe, it made him a household name. And it really put Joaquin Phoenix on the map because his portrayal of Claudius, the man who would betray his father to become emperor, his portrayal in that movie is incredible. It's like one of the top 10 all-time villain performances in any movie. And if you haven't seen Gladiator, the movie has aged like fine wine. It's still great. It has a tremendous emotional core. The battle sequences are awesome. And the movie just works in all aspects. And it deserves all of the critical acclaim that it's gotten over the years. So now, 23 years later, Scott and Joaquin Phoenix combined to make Napoleon. And a lot's gone on in both of their careers, you know. Joaquin has won an Oscar for Joker. He's done a ton of different films across the board, every type of genre. He's done weird movies. He's done mainstream movies. He's a great actor, right? He's phenomenal. Ridley Scott's career, the man's a legend. Blade Runner, Alien, landmark science fiction and horror films. I think I've only actually seen, as far as Ridley Scott movies in the theater, I think I've only seen the re-release of Aliens in the mid-2000s and Gladiator and this. Those are the only movies of his I've actually seen in the theaters, but he's got just this incredible catalog of films, and he's got some movies that didn't do so well, right? Alien Covenant, people didn't love as much. Prometheus, I know a lot of people love that movie, but you could easily say that one is hit or miss as well. And so now these guys team up, and this movie is okay. And the problem with just being okay is that the bar has now been set so high by their last collaboration. These guys getting back together, and this movie really has to be an incredible film to succeed because that bar is so high. Two legends coming together to make a movie. And this movie really, I'm going to talk about what's good about it and then what's bad. And unfortunately, I feel like the bad really does outweigh the good. And it sucks to say that, and it's disappointing, but that's just the truth. And if I'm going to be honest about it, I have to tell it like it is. So, movie looks great. The performances for what the actors are asked to do is great, or are great. And the action sequences and the battle sequences and all that stuff is great. And Napoleon's relationship with his wife is extremely volatile and nuts. And that mostly works. That's what's good about the movie. Here's what doesn't work about the movie. That relationship between Napoleon and Josephine consumes so much of the runtime. This movie's like 2 hours and 40 minutes long. And it consumes so much of the runtime that it just seems to often derail the movie. Like, just sends it off on these weird tangents. And it's disappointing. It really, really suffers from trying to do too much and trying to stuff too much into to the amount of time that they have. And while the performances are good, Joaquin Phoenix is good in what he's asked to do. The problem is what they're asked to do. And that's the script, right? The script, the story, what we're asked to buy into simply doesn't really work. Napoleon is like all over the map. 1 minute, he's like flying off the handle. 1 minute, he's staring off into space. 1 minute, he's falling asleep. And 1 minute, he is like diabolically next level horny. And it's just a lot to take in. And we don't really know if that's what Napoleon was actually like. Who knows what the man was actually like. But it just seems like, Phoenix was throwing everything at the screen to try and get the performance where he wanted it to go. And yet in doing so, tried to do too much. And I think this is one of those movies that seems like Scott had trouble in the editing bay. It seems like he had some real difficulty whittling this movie down into something that is streamlined and digestible. It seems like that's simply the case, right? He had the same problem with Prometheus. And it's just this movie is not an easy movie to digest. I found myself checking my watch multiple times, which is never good. You want a movie that's going to enthrall you and keep your eyes glued to the screen, and that's where this movie really struggled. And I want to make a comparison. I believe it was 2021. I think it was 2021 when The Last Duel came out. That was the last movie he made. That movie is like Adam Driver, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Jodie Comer, and then incredible performance. And that movie's a 10 out of 10. I love that movie. I think that movie suffered tremendously from a lack of hype and is the best movie of that year. Easily. I think it's easily the best movie of 2021, if that is the year it came out, which I'm thinking it is. And then I look at this and it's like, man, dude, that movie had such a great cohesive story, and the way it was told, and the narrative structure where it's told from three different people. The same story is told from the viewpoint of three different people consecutively. Like you have his point of view, his point of view, her point of view, and then it's all kind of tied together at the end. This simply, it just feels like the movie is completely disjointed and all over the place in terms of its tone. It seems like it doesn't know if it wants to be a comedy or drama or historical thriller or just a pure autobiography. And it's just kind of all over the place. And it's really disappointing because I had a lot of hype for this one. The trailers, the promotional material all made it look good. And it's not a bad movie. It's just kind of middling, and it's just kind of there. And when you have those high expectations and the bar has been raised and you'll meet that bar, then ultimately your movie is going to be a disappointment. It's just that simple. So Napoleon, it was fine. I liked it enough, but it's not a great movie. It's just not. And there's no way around that. So thank you so much for checking out this video. If you liked it, if you found it helpful, I hope you would consider subscribing to the channel. That would really help. That would be awesome. And I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.